Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video we're going to talk about raiding in the Mists of Pandaria remix event. Basically how to get into it, how strong do you need to be, and why you should do it beyond the classic LFR. Now entering into raids is pretty straightforward. Firstly, there's the LFR metric to it, but we're talking specifically about normal heroic level dungeons, or raids I should say. Now for these you're going to need a pug. Now, generally there are some entry requirements for this, but I would say for normal, most times you can find a quick run where there's a lot of high level players that are looking to clear the runs quite quickly. I would say getting your normal completions is probably not too hard at all. Heroic people tend to get a little bit picky, but just refresh and log in a couple different times and you'll probably find at least one quick run for the normal variant of your raid pretty simply. If you want to start your own group, for normal and for heroic there's different power levels. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. So now let's talk specifically a little bit about raid gameplay. So it depends a lot on your grouping. Depends a lot on how powerful you are, your grouping, what kind of power level your characters are all at. Do you have a group that's on the lower end of the spectrum? You're going to have to pay more attention to mechanics. Do you have a group that's on the higher level of the spectrum? You're going to have one guy one-shotting everything. There's going to be a mixed bag. It depends a lot on how you construct the group. But generally speaking, especially on normal, the raid mechanics are all very forgiving. A lot of the times, you don't need to consider the raid mechanics at all, especially on normal difficulty, even with a slightly lower to mid-tier group. In heroic, things are a little bit tougher. There is a little bit more room for error, but at the same time, again, as long as you are meeting kind of the power level requirements, you don't have a huge struggle with this game mode. So it's a very fluid kind of gameplay system. A lot of the time, honestly, especially if your group is quite strong, you're just going to be spamming whatever easiest spells you have on rotation because your gems and power level are going to overtake most of it. In terms of if you have a weaker group, you will have to pay attention to mechanics to a certain degree, but it's going to feel a lot more like an LFR type of deal. Not a Mists of Pandaria LFR, a World of Warcraft retail LFR, more so than something super duper challenging. Obviously, if you just ding 70, try and run into heroic with a whole bunch of mates, you're not going to have a good time. The scaling also is quite favorable as well, so having bigger parties isn't such a big hindrance. As long as you have one or two super strong characters, it doesn't really matter that much in terms of the scaling. So bigger parties are fine, as long as you've got one or two super strong characters to kind of carry the workload. Now let's talk about strength, because obviously I've mentioned a couple times how strong are we actually looking at being. And here's the thing, it's going to depend. Generally for normal, honestly speaking, you don't need much. Once you have your 2 rings, your 2 trinkets, and you're basically 3, 4, 6, you can go do normal. You probably won't get into a super quick normal group unless it's someone carrying like a max level run like the one I've just joined. But generally speaking, if you gather a bunch of people, you'll find a couple higher level item level people that are looking to join for a quick run. You'll be able to easily make a group. 3, 4, 6, your rings, etc. all good for normal. For heroic, this is where things get a little bit different. You definitely obviously want your amulet first, being your neck piece, and you're going to also have to consider upgrading your gear. Generally for Mogashon Vaults, you want to have around 600k HP, and you want to also have your amulets and everything. For Heart of Fear, you're looking at about 800k HP. For Endless Terrace, you're looking at about 380 plus gear. For Throne of Thunder, you're looking at about 380, maybe 400. And for Siege of Orgrimmar, you're looking at about 400 plus in terms of item level. The thing is, for most pug groups, a lot of people won't take you if you're not above 400 item level for a lot of these heroic raids. And generally speaking, that's kind of their barrier to entry. So having your amulet, having 400 plus gear, generally gets you into the heroic raids. People are looking for safe, solid runs. So if you're specifically looking to do that, you're going to need to kind of get to around there. For normal, basically ding, clean yourself up, get all of the rings and trinkets you can, and you're good to go. Now, why do we want to do the raids? Well, there's a couple main reasons. So the first is, for the normal difficulty, your main appeal is obviously getting your neck piece. This requires you to complete every raid on normal. This is just cool from a power perspective, and obviously later on when your character converts at the end of the season into a normal character, you'll have a nice neck piece. In terms of heroic difficulty, you're looking for the title, Claw of Eternus. This is your bragging rights for doing heroic Pandaria raids. It's a cool title, so yeah, I think for the most part it's something worth it, considering it's not that bad an effort if you upgrade your gear. It's not like truly doing a heroic raid, so it's a little bit different. But the main appeal is going to be your Tusks of Mano. Now these drop specifically from Garrosh at the end of the Siege of Orgrimmar. It's a very, very, very nice substance. It's a great currency. You definitely need it. And the reason why, quite frankly, is it allows you to get yourself a ton of great rewards from the vendors. So when you look at like beating Garrosh, you get 1 Tusk of Mano per day on normal, and then I think you get more on heroic. You get more, so you need quite a few of these to be able to grab some of his really cool rewards. And the big appeal of his rewards are 2 things. So you get his heirloom weapons, which are cool. It's one of the few ways to get nice heirloom weapons. But the main thing is also going to be his cosmetic shoulder pieces, the Tusks of Mano. Now, the heirlooms, I believe, are not available currently on retail. The Tusks of Mano are available, but have a very low drop rate. And that's it. That is pretty much everything you need to know. So good luck and get going.